Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk about something absolutely fundamental to our future, inclusion. But this isn't just another policy review. This is about rewiring our organization's DNA for a future that is, quite frankly, already here. This is our strategic briefing on what it takes to lead, not just in 2026, but starting right now.
So, let's wind the clock back a bit. I think we can all remember when this was the prevailing thought in most boardrooms. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Inclusion was this, it was this value we all believed in, but it was kind of fuzzy. We weren't exactly sure how to connect it to the actual mechanics of the business.
But let's be real. That world is long gone. Today, with generative AI rewriting job descriptions and hybrid work being the new normal, not being sure isn't just a missed opportunity anymore. It's a massive competitive disadvantage. It's a blind spot we simply cannot afford to have.
So that gets us to the big question, right? How has the actual blueprint for inclusion changed? And more importantly, what do we as the leaders of this company need to do to get ahead of the curve and actually lead from the front?
All right, so to really get where we're going, we've got to be honest about where we've been. Let's take a quick look back at that foundational playbook we were all using not too long ago.
And you can see the shift right here. It's night and day. We've gone from talking about diversity as a belief, something you put on a poster in the break room, to embedding inclusion as a core business imperative. It has to be just as critical as our P&L or our supply chain logistics.
And look, that old way of thinking, it had some serious cracks in the foundation. It created huge blind spots in our processes. It meant we were leaving incredible skills from our marginalized staff completely on the table. And it built a culture where truly innovative ideas, the ones that challenge the status quo, often got shut down. And you know what that leads to? It makes us slow. Too slow.
Okay, so now let's fast forward, because the world hasn't just changed a little bit. We've all lived through a seismic shift that has created a totally new reality for our business and for our people.
And this timeline, wow, it really paints the picture, doesn't it? 2020, hybrid work completely changed where and how we work. Then, boom, 2022, generative AI changed the work itself. And now the big one for us is the accessibility mandate. That's the critical piece that's going to allow us to truly integrate our human workforce with AI going forward.
And I want to be crystal clear on this point. Accessibility is no longer a nice-to-have feature. It's a non-negotiable from the very beginning. Every tool, every app, every single piece of software we use has to be designed to be inclusive for everyone, especially for the incredibly talented people in the disabled community. We just can't afford to shut that talent out.
So, where does that leave us? What does it mean for our strategy? It means we have to consciously rewrite the code of our organization. We need to define exactly what inclusion as DNA looks like in this new world.
So this is it. This is the new definition. Our modern DNA is an integrated system. It's not a checklist. It's built on 3 pillars. Number 1, accessibility by design. We build it in from the start. Number 2, ethical AI implementation. We actively work to eliminate bias from our algorithms. And number 3, a laser focus on diverse workforce development, helping all our people grow.
Okay, but a definition is one thing. How do we actually do it? Well, this is our playbook. It's a 3-step process. First, we do a top-to-bottom audit of our tech and hiring processes to find those systemic gaps. Second, we make strategic investments to build real career paths for our underrepresented talent, specifically our Indigenous and ethnic American colleagues and our employees with disabilities. And third, we cultivate a culture of psychological safety, where people feel genuinely safe to speak up and challenge things.
All right, so that's the theory. But what does this look like in the real world, at scale? Well, let's take a look at Google. They've been on this journey very publicly, and frankly, we can learn a ton from their evolution.
If you look at Google's journey, you see this long public evolution. They started early, got transparent with their data, they made huge pledges in 2020. But the part that I want us to really focus on is what's been happening since 2021. They made a crucial pivot from just focusing on hiring to tackling the much harder problems of retention and, you guessed it, accessibility.
And when you dig into the data, well, the numbers tell a really important story. You can see clear progress in hiring for some groups. That's great. But then you look at their Indigenous American talent, and the number's actually gone down. This tells us something powerful. Getting people through the door is not the finish line. It's barely the start.
Which, of course, brings us to the real million-dollar question. Getting diverse talent in the building is just step 1. The real challenge The thing that will define our success is how do we create an environment where that talent wants to stay and where they can actually thrive.
And that's the big lesson here, right? What Google found out, especially after 2021, is that their retention issues were directly tied to their ecosystem. It wasn't enough to just hire people. They had to build a truly supportive and accessible environment for everyone, with a special focus on making sure their employees with disabilities had what they needed to succeed.
Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is about us. This is the path forward, and why it is absolutely imperative that we act and act now.
First things first, let's talk about performance, because this isn't just a culture initiative. The data couldn't be clearer. Companies with ethnically diverse executive teams are 33% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. This is a straight line to better business results.
And that brings me to how we think about funding this. We have to stop thinking of this as a cost center. Look at Google. They've put over $1 billion into these programs. Why? Because they see it for what it is, a strategic investment in their own resilience, their own innovation, and their long-term leadership.
Look, the cost of doing nothing, of sticking with that old DNA, it's not just a risk, it's a certainty. We're talking higher recruitment costs, a brand reputation that can be shattered overnight, a real drain on productivity and innovation, and a complete inability to connect with the customers we claim we want to serve.
But on the flip side, the opportunity here, it's massive. This new DNA future-proofs our business. It makes us the place where the absolute best talent from every background wants to be. It allows us to build a team that actually looks like our customers. And it will unlock innovation in ways we can't even imagine, because it will be built on a foundation of true inclusion.
So I'm going to leave you all with one final question. Our company's DNA isn't some static thing in a handbook. It's being written and rewritten every single day, with every decision we make. So the only question left for us is this. Is the DNA we're writing today building resilience, or is it building risk? The choice is ours to make. Thank you.